Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is General Tom Waldhauser, United States Marine Corps, retired. And on behalf of the Board of Directors and the national staff, I welcome you to the annual meeting of the membership of the Military Officers Association of America. Our national chaplain, Colonel Peter Batkus, will give the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Chaplain Pete.
Let us pray. O Lord our God, we ask that you send your Spirit upon us and have us to understand and discern your will that we are doing for those who we serve, our nation and the people that serve this nation with pride and dignity. We ask that you remember all those who are in need in our nation this day, and that you speak into the leaders' hearts and minds so that they may do the right thing for the people to whom they were elected for. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now church is over. You could sit.
Thanks, Chaplain Batkus. We appreciate it very much. Well, it's good to see you all here this afternoon, and I'm sure as you well know that the purpose of our annual meeting is for the leadership in our association to report to you, our members, and to give you a chance to speak with your elected representatives of the board. We want to tell you about the activities of your association during the past year, and hear your ideas and concerns, and take any questions that you might have. After all, this is your association, and we want to be responsive to you. Members of the Board of Directors are joining us today as we just had our fall Board of Directors meeting this morning. Your board consists of 35 dedicated MOA members and who devote a significant amount of time and talent providing strategic direction and guidance as the association might require. And in addition to the National Board, we have a dedicated full-time staff who operate our association and execute our mission on a daily basis. Joining me on the podium today are Lieutenant General Brian Kelly, who is the CEO and President of MOAA, no stranger to you. Colonel Jim O'Brien, who's the Chief Operating Officer, again, no stranger to you. He's been operating for a while now at the MOA headquarters. Regina Chavez, the Chief Financial Officer. Regina, making sure the checkbook's always balanced, which is always a challenging position. April Vogel, down at the end, who's the Vice President of Government Relations. She hasn't done much in the last 2 weeks, but anyways, we'll you know, it's like the Maytag repairman, but we'll get to that. And then, of course, Doug Sanders, who's our General Counsel and Corporate Secretary, seated next to me. Also joining us today are many of our current board members. All our board members are exemplary volunteer leaders, and they play a significant role in building MOA into the preeminent association serving the Uniformed Services Committee. I would like to ask all of the board members to go ahead and stand here this afternoon so we can see who you are and give you a round of applause for your efforts. Thank you all, and you take a hard look at them because you want to pigeonhole these people at the end of it if they're still here. Look, we're delighted this afternoon that they've joined us, and on behalf of the entire association, I want to again thank them for their dedication and taking on the sponsorship of a board member. You know, it's a 6-year tour, and it's various committees and some work on their own time, and we're very, very appreciative of all that. MOA is a Virginia corporation, and now I call on the association's Secretary and General Counsel, Doug Sanders, to confirm that he has kept us in compliance with Virginia law regarding this meeting. Doug?
I'll take Ambassador any day.
Yeah.
Yes, we are in compliance with Virginia law. We did so by sending printed copies in the Military Officer Magazine and the MOA newsletter to the last known physical address of our membership. And we also sent digital notices via the last known email that we have on record. And the time, date, location was posted on our website.
Thanks very much, Doug. We appreciate that. With that legal matter out of the way, I hereby declare the annual meeting of the membership of MOA is legally constituted and call the meeting to order. I also note for the record that the minutes of last year's annual meeting held in Arlington, Virginia, were approved by the Board of Directors on 24 January of this year. So once again, it's my pleasure and responsibility to report to you on the state of our association. I'm pleased to report that MOA continues to be the preeminent advocacy group representing the interests of our country's uniformed services. In a moment, General Kelly will brief you on MOA's recent accomplishments and the challenges that we face going forward. I think you all will share the feeling of great pride, the great pride that I have of MOA's accomplishments and what it does every day for the uniformed services community, active duty, retired, veterans, survivors, the National Guard, and the Reserve Forces. But we can't rest upon our accomplishments. Going forward, we are facing an increasingly complex fiscal environment, and we expect the earned benefits of our uniformed services, veterans and survivors and retired members to always be a moving target. We face a challenging future, but I believe we are all well positioned for additional success. I would also like to mention that our two charitable organizations, the Scholarship Foundation and the MOA Foundation, which I know you are all aware of, I want to say that from a financial support of these, for the financial support of these two charities, particularly the younger MOA Foundation, they are vital success stories. Your personal donations fuel these programs that give back to our community in many big ways. To join me in giving back, please visit our website, www.moa.org/donate, and you'll have the ability to do that here before the end of the year. Now, from a personal perspective, I find my service on the board over the past 5 years, and especially now as your chairman, to be incredibly rewarding, gratifying, and challenging. MOA members have devoted their lives to uniformed service and the defense of our country. They understand the service and they understand leadership. So it's an honor to serve you, the members. Our association also benefits from the extraordinary dedication and initiative of our headquarters staff. 83 full-time employees in Alexandria, Virginia, the building that you well know and have driven by many times, who are passionate about MOA's mission and who feel a genuine personal obligation to take care of each of our members. And that commitment extends from General Kelly at the top of the association all the way down to the newest member of our staff, Stephanie Rose, on Government Relations team, who joined the headquarters this past week. We will now hear from our President, Lieutenant General Kelly. BK.
Well, good afternoon, and again, as General Waldhauser said, welcome, and thanks for joining us here. This is my third year that I've had the honor to come before you as the President and CEO of the Military Officers Association of America. Let me just quickly say and outline what the goal is from my perspective for the briefing I'm about to give you. If you are proud of the association you belong to, raise your hand. My goal is to make you prouder when we're done. If you're not so proud of the association and you didn't raise your hand, that's okay. We're going to make you proud of the association because I'm going to show you what I hope is money well spent on your behalf to be part of this association and the goodness that I think we're doing. The team that we have at our headquarters with the support of our national board is doing incredible work on a daily basis, and 2025 has been a particularly important year for us. So with that, I'm going to outline some of those things, and I'm going to start with the picture that you see there on the slide. Which is we're here in the Gaylord Hotel over here in National Harbor because we just concluded 2 days on Tuesday and Wednesday of the first ever for us inaugural Total Force Plus conference, MOA's first attempt to do that in its 96-year history. This conference was designed to make sure we highlight the importance of people. The thing that MOA is all about. How do we make sure that we take care of everybody in our ecosystem, from the person who first raises their hand to join, through their service, through their transition to their health care as they are retired or transitioned out of service, all the way until a final transition. And how do we make sure that all of the resources and all of the capabilities that are responsible for doing that are motored together, if you will. And so this conference, the first we'd ever done that, has occurred these last 2 days. And so here publicly, I want to recognize and ask to stand up our Director of Major Events, Ms. Leslie Generos. Leslie, please stand up. Leslie led a vision for us over the last 2 years. It was over 2 years ago when we started this journey to make this conference happen, and Leslie and her team turned a vision into reality. I hope some of you were able to attend. If you weren't able to attend, I'll talk more about it later. You'll get another chance in another year or so to come back and do it, but it really was a great event, and it gave us a chance to show just what the power of our association, your association, is able to do in helping our military and veteran community. Leslie, thank you. So let's talk a little bit about the Total Force Plus Conference. We conceived it as one of the best ways to go after some of the future challenges we know we had. If you were here last year or have heard us talk about this, we outlined these 6 strategic challenges as things that we are going to have to tackle and do as part of our MOA association over the next couple years. Not immediate things, but we know long-term these things have to be accomplished in order for us to have the association tomorrow, the next year, and the year after that we have today. And so we've been after that, and this conference that we did was one of the ways that we conceived to go after that. Specifically, Total Force Plus helped us to build MOA's brand, the brand of MOA and Total Force Plus with new audiences. We grew membership, and I'll show you that. We built support for our MOA charities, and we spotlighted many of the advocacy priorities in front of a very influential audience. And I'll show you, despite what was going on in the government with the shutdown, we were still able to do that in a great way. And we want to thank, we're here, our Maryland Council, who joined us at the convention, and the Maryland Council had a booth at the convention, at the conference, and was able to show so many of the visitors, so many of the attendees, the power of our chapter and council system inside MOA. So a really powerful couple days for us. Here's some of the payoff if you want to see. It's a little early. We'll obviously get some more feedback as it's coming in, but you'll see, almost 300 new members that were gained. I will tell you, we travel around to a lot of conferences and show the MOA flag. We average somewhere between 40 and 60 when we do that. We added 300 new members just this time. Our branding on our website, our branding in terms of the people who visit us, go to our social media channels, the various things was increased tenfold, and really our advocacy agenda was also able to go forward. From a sponsorship perspective, as you see on the bottom of the slide, there are a lot of new relationships, a lot of new opportunities for us to gain new relationships for MOA from a sponsorship perspective. And as you'll see on this slide, we had a significant number of sponsors, some that we've had in our MOA stable for a while, but 67 new ones that we never had a monetary relationship with in the past that were able to come to the conference, support MOA, and allow us to have that continuing relationship going forward. So really powerful in that regard, and we're hoping to be able to capitalize on that as we go forward. Now, I just mentioned it wasn't without some headwinds. It takes a lot to get to a first ever event. An inaugural event is not easy. You have to brand. You have to be able to establish your place in the space. And we did it in sort of a turbulent environment. Lots of changes going on in regard to rule sets and things as we always do when new administrations come in, that we navigated our way through. A little fiscal uncertainty as far as the sponsors and folks who are out there. And then, of course, we're in the midst of a government shutdown. So if you're in the midst of a government shutdown, it makes things a little bit more difficult. But we had over 1,400 attendees, despite being in the midst of a government shutdown. I think in the end, we would have wanted to have more uniformed members present, but we had a lot, including the senior enlisted leaders of almost every one of the branches of service and significant senior members of the Office of Secretary of War staff and the Veterans Administration, the VA, who were all in attendance, which was great. I think all of us have said, or our parents said to us sometime when we were knocked down, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I will tell you, as we fought through the headwinds, our team learned a lot, and we are well positioned for what we hope will be our second conference, and an even stronger and even better, which will be back here, if you didn't get a chance to come this time, February 1st and 2nd, 2027. So 15 months forward from today. Gets us a little bit away from the fall time frame and those things, but we'll be back here again for Total Force Plus iteration number 2 in February of 2027. Now, one of the things when we do that shift that's going to happen for ourselves is it's going to deconflict ourselves from a lot of things that are happening in that regard, the end of the fiscal year boundary, all those other kinds of things. So we're hopeful, and again, we hope see you guys back here then. I want to shift now to talk about our main mission. Our main mission at MOA is to preserve and protect the earned benefits of our uniformed services community, their families, those who are currently serving, those who have served, our retirees, our families, and our survivors. And the main way we do this, and with the support of the entire staff, is through this government relations team, if you will. The government relations team is always working to preserve our benefits and has done so again this year in 2025 with a lot of significant things that they've worked on. First of all, building on, and something we talked about last year if you were here, in 2024 there was a quality of life report from the House Armed Services Committee that MOA played significant contributions to doing. We took that quality of life report, we doubled down on many of the things that were in there, and we used that to help shape our agenda for 2025. And we also did that while we integrated 2 new members. Hopefully the slide does it. It's working. Great. So let me introduce, and General Waldhauser introduced one already, but we added 2 new members to the government relations team. One is Mr. Jimmy Santos. Jimmy is a currently serving Air Force Reserve officer, and he has a deep background supporting senior people in the executive and legislative branches, and we're happy that he's come in to take over the currently serving portfolio in government relations. And as General Waldhauser mentioned just last week, Ms. Stephanie Rose, a longtime MOA volunteer with lots of extensive experience. She's worked at the Navy Federal Credit Union, she's worked at USAA, and she's worked in lots of advocacy ways before. She joined our staff as well, and you can see that Stephanie now has the family and spouse portfolio that previously was occupied by Jen Goodale, and Jen Goodale has now moved over to take the portfolio that is our retired and Veterans Affairs portfolio, and she will do great in there. For those of you who know Jen, you know Jen's a force of nature, and she's going to do great in the new portfolio. This team had unbelievable success on lots of key legislative activities this last year. I think we were all, led by the government relations teams, key visitors to Capitol Hill, to the White House, to all the executive departments, Pentagon, the VA, with lots of meaningful meetings and lots of meaningful impact with everybody, including congressional leaders. I think on the count, the team made 217 meetings with members of Congress and key staff. And so if you think about how often you can get in, 217 is no small feat. We tried to go back and see if that's a record. I don't know. It's certainly a record in the 3 years that I've been here. But really kudos to April Vogel and her team and the government relations team who really stay engaged with the relationships that you have to work on a daily basis to be effective. Our government relations team also regularly met with the military health system contractors, including Humana Military, TriWest, HealthNet, Express Scripts, and others to share feedback from you, from our membership, on advisory councils. Most significantly, our association led the way last year for a pay raise for our most junior enlisted force, our E1s through E4s, who received a 14.5% pay raise last year that addressed many of the concerns and things that we saw over the recent time with that personnel. And one of the things I think we are most proud of, and we say all the time, MOA is an association of officers, but we're not just about officers. We advocate for all ranks across all uniformed services. Our advocacy in this particular case for the enlisted force was done despite, and ironically so, some other associations who are set up to support the enlisted force not supporting that pay raise, but MOA did, and it got through, and we were proud to do that for the young enlisted force. We also championed improvements in government housing and advocated for achieved a tenant bill of rights to provide protection for military families in privatized housing. We campaigned for full restoration of basic allowance for housing to ease out-of-pocket costs for service members and their families, and achieved the passage of a temporary measure that provided $2.9 billion for basic allowance housing restoration. And as we wait for the National Defense Authorization Act for this year, we expect even more support for housing to come out of that bill. We continued our efforts, the government relations team in front, our efforts to monitor the PACT Act, the landmark toxic exposure legislation, with implementation of over 1.4 million claims that were approved for veterans suffering from toxic exposures, related illnesses, and their survivors. MOA successfully advocated for a GAO report on the impact of pharmacy network cuts on all of us, on the beneficiaries. The persistent advocacy work done by our government relations team on this topic led to the Defense Health Agency and Express Scripts renegotiating contracts with many independent pharmacies that were important to many of our members out in rural communities. We also championed passage of the Elizabeth Dole 21st Century Veterans Health Care Act and Benefits Improvement Acts, which expanded benefits and enhanced services for veterans and their caregivers. And we, of course, continued our push to build support for the passage of the Richard Starr Act, something we've been working on for a long time, to make sure we extend concurrent receipt to service members unable to complete 20 years of service due to combat injuries. So those folks who had to retire because they were injured in combat and are now not getting their due benefits on both sides. We can't think of anybody more deserving to get their full round of benefits than those who are injured in combat for our nation. So we'll continue to push that. We know it's not likely to pass in this current session, but we're going to continue to be part of a coalition that moves that forward, and in 2026, you'll see us continue to push the Richard Starr Act. And of course, we had to this year stay busy monitoring any of the associated discussions that were happening with good efficiency drills, things that the DOJ was doing to find good efficiencies. Our goal was to make sure none of those efficiencies were taking on the backs of our military members and our veterans, so that those efficiencies found efficiencies without reducing the benefits that we have all earned, that you have all earned. This year, we kicked off our annual Advocacy and Action campaign with this. This was on page 2 and 3 of the Hill magazine, the Hill newspaper, on April 9th, 2025, and it also had a front cover banner on it. And as a result of that, we had over 150 MOA volunteers who all came together to advocate for service, earned pay, and benefits. Our teams completed over 330 congressional office visits on that day and contributed over 1,200 hours of face-to-face advocacy, including 59 meetings with the principal. I don't know about you guys if you've ever been to AIA, but it's often when you go for those meetings, you end up with a staff member or a number 2 or a number 3 person who comes and talks to you. We went back and checked. We had 59 principals on that day, which we think, again, is a MOA record. So that's really important for us to get directly with the member of Congress, your representative or your senator, and we were happy we were able to do that on 59 occasions that day. One of the most powerful things we do in our advocacy efforts is the Legislative Action Center. And this really supports our advocacy agenda. The number of registrants we have in our Legislative Action Center, the place where you can go in, put in your zip code, and directly send instantly letters to your senators and representatives on whatever issue MOA is advocating for, you pick. You have a chance to edit those if you want, and you can send them directly in. We have over 30,000 now, right around 30,000 folks who are registered in the Legislative Action Center, including 9,300 of our chapter members. Most powerful group that we have in terms of the number of messages they send. Of those 30,000, those 9,300 do the lion's share of the work for us in making sure our grassroots voices, your grassroots voices, get communicated to our members of Congress. If you are not registered advocate in the Legislative Action Center, I won't make you raise your hand, but we'll ask you, get registered. That's the place where it happens for us, right? Go on there, register, and signal your support. It is an absolute powerful tool for us. It helps us when we go in to see those members of Congress, when we have those 217 visits, extremely powerful for us to go to that Legislative Action Center, look at the data and say, do you know that you received this many messages from Maryland or this many messages from Virginia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Arizona, Texas, wherever it happens to be, and it's really a great tool. Our councils and chapters team has been equally productive this year and very busy, with a major assist from our information technology team led by our CIO, Ms. Sarah Ferris, and our general counsel. As you met him up here, Mr. Doug Sanders. We launched a new privacy policy designed in part to expose non-chapter members in our association, affiliated national members, if you will, to the benefits of chapter membership. We continued our annual rhythm of hosting 2 in-person council and chapter leader workshops. We did one in Oklahoma City this year, and upcoming here in November, we're going to do one in Hershey, Pennsylvania next month. Both events are going to allow us to connect with more than 250 council and chapter leaders and spouses, and one of the things we'll talk about is this new privacy policy and how this allows us to make sure that our MOA members have access to and understand the benefits of chapter and council affiliation. We were able to recognize this past year 169 councils and chapters with Levels of Excellence Awards and 235 councils and chapters for excellence in print or digital communications. And my wife, Garrity, who's over there, Garrity, raise your hand. My right-hand man and partner for all these things. Gary and I visited multiple chapters and councils throughout the year, observing firsthand why our most committed and engaged MOA members happen to be those who are in chapters and councils. We also have virtual chapters membership, and that grew by 10% this past year to more than 1,300 national MOA members who were in a virtual chapter. And I want to take a moment to highlight and call out Tony LaVecchio, Captain Tony LaVecchio, United States Navy, retired, who leads the Nassau County, Florida chapter. The Nassau County, Florida chapter in their work, and it's not a small chapter, has 57%. 57% of their people are registered in the Legislative Action Center and are taking actions and doing their grassroots advocacy on behalf of MOA. So we'll throw that down sort of as the gauntlet. If any other chapters out there, anybody can get past 57%, we'll dethrone Tony LaVecchia as the new kings of the Legislative Action Center. Now, one of the things we always like to do and have done for a while is an opportunity for us to recognize some great volunteers who are out there who do great work on behalf of our chapter and council system. And so with that, one of the highest awards now, or the highest award we have inside of our MOA, is our Chairman's Award. And this year, we would like to recognize one of who's among us here in the audience, if we can have retired Commander Link Smith, past president of our Virginia Council of Chapters and current president of the Public Affairs and Communications Professional Virtual Chapter. Come forward, please, Link. Link, get your picture taken. Link has built an incredibly strong bipartisan relationships in support of the legislative priorities while leading our Virginia Council. He assisted several of our chapters with their communications programs while leading our Public Affairs and Communications Professional Virtual Chapter. For his outstanding leadership, dedication, and Link's commitment to never stop serving, Link has been awarded the highest award at MOA, the Chairman's Award. Thanks, sir. In our quest to make sure we attract younger members into our association, and Service Academy Alumni Association's outreach remains strong, and we do all kinds of things in terms of membership and marketing. We are expanding our presence with digital opportunities to engage prospective members, in addition to regular participation in Service Academy career conferences throughout the year. This past year, nearly 1,000 new basic members were added from West Point's graduates and rising seniors. So brand new second lieutenants going into the United States Army. 1,000 of them became members or had just joined the Army. 1,000 of them became members in MOA, showing what's possible when we tap into some of these groups. We expect that number to continue to grow and as we institute similar programs with other service academies, and we are now turning our focus on initial expansion of those programs into large ROTC producing units that commission officers across the country. Many of these relationships were being established with the help of both our national board and other MOA members who have relationships with these various ROTC producing universities. We executed successful membership campaigns coincidental with national holidays and Military Appreciation Month in May. Year over year results improved from similar campaigns in 2024. In 2025, we gained 444 new premium members, 284 life members from our digital paid membership campaigns year to date. Membership gains through the third quarter are basics: 7,992 new joins, 2,485 new premium joins, and for the year, 4,332 new life members who joined MOA. This is essential to us as our membership, especially from those who are in the Korea and Vietnam eras, begins to age out, and replenishing our roles and replenishing our membership is essential for us as we go forward. We also want to talk about a new option that we launched this year, which is a gift option. You can buy a gift membership for somebody and gift them the membership. So the holidays are coming up. If you got a special grandchild, niece, nephew out there who is serving and they're not a MOA member, you can buy them a MOA membership and get them signed up as a great way to give them a holiday gift. This last year, our life insurance portfolio, you may have recognized as you saw in the MOA magazine, has transferred from Voya to New York Life. Doing this helped us streamline the underwriting process, increased our program royalties. We at MOA receive $800,000 in royalties for them getting our book of business, and we hope these and we think these are absolutely better products for our members. We also launched the Medicare Advantage program, our newest member benefit, in cooperation with Veterans Healthcare. Veterans Healthcare is an organization that only caters to veterans and only offers Medicare Advantage plans. They do nothing else. We thought they were a great fit for MOA and a great option for all of us to have in our portfolio. We've launched them in time for the 2025 season, or open enrollment season, which began on October 5th and will close on December 7th. We also launched a new Benefit Hub partnership. This provides opportunities for our members to get high-quality entertainment, restaurant, and retail offering discounts. And we initiated another new benefit called Aura, which is a personal identity theft solution, something unfortunately that we all have to watch out for in today's modern digital age. Jenna Waldhauser mentioned philanthropy for us, and I want to talk a little bit about the great things that we've done in our charities. The MOA Foundation is maturing, and it's becoming recognized. It's starting to look a lot like the Scholarship Fund did when it was young. The MOA Foundation, obviously only about 11 or 12 years old, the Scholarship Fund being around for 76 years, it's starting to be on the same path and maybe even more accelerated than we were on the Scholarship Fund. This year, we received a $300,000 bequest from a MOA member who recently passed. This is the second largest bequest we've ever received specifically for the MOA Foundation, and it starts to tell us that our MOA members are recognizing the value of rewarding and continuing to give to the MOA Foundation. Out of the MOA Foundation, we awarded 55 community outreach grants to our chapters and councils who do great work in their local community for veterans, totaling nearly $192,000. And as part of our fundraising, we held another successful annual MOA Golf Classic. We had 88 golfers who raised over $150,000 for our charities. And we also raised, with everybody's contributions and great generosity, over $145,000 in our annual Day of Giving campaign, which is a $50,000 increase from what we did in 2024. On the scholarship side, our scholarships application, we had over 1,880 applications this year, the most applications we've ever had for our scholarship assistance for the 2025-2026 school year. It is up from 1,300 in the 24-25 school year, just so you can see how the numbers are changing. And our applications from enlisted families and marketing emphasis items also increased sharply. 1,800 of those students were actually awarded over $18 million in loans and grants thanks to the generosity of our MOA members, and we make a real difference in the lives of those children and those families who continue their education. The team has worked really hard to connect with potential recipients of our educational assistance dollars, and we are absolutely committed to increasing the fund's impact within the military and veteran community. Our scholarship fund and our MOA Foundation directly support our legislative advocacy agenda and branding by identifying us as an association that is committed to serving the entire military community. If you just look at our name and where we are, people will assume that we're only taking care of officers. We demonstrate every day through these charities that we take care of and support the entire military and veteran community, which is a great way to do it. I also want to note we had 100% support from our national board members giving to both charities, which is fantastic. We appreciate their support. It allows us to make sure that we can say that as we go out and fundraise. But I want to make sure, as General Waldhauser said, that you continue to consider the great impact that we do through these MOA charities, and we thank you for your generosity. We're always trying to strengthen our brand and reach, and I'm happy to report that Military Officer Magazine, hopefully that you all get and read from cover to cover the instant you get it each month, has won the best cover design in what's sort of the Oscar Awards of publishing. So the 2025 Folio Awards that were bestowed in New York in October was awarded, and one of those awards went to MOA for its cover design of the Military Officer Magazine. Our advertising partners, Smith Buckland, who is our advertising sales agency for our media channels, brings decades of experience with them, and we're really happy to add them to our portfolio. And they have added significant focus on the digital space, how we advertise in our weekly newsletter, how we advertise electronically, and not only in print media. We also executed a robust webinar schedule this past year, engaging our members and potential members. And I will tell you our most popular topics addressed federal income tax planning, preparing for survivorship, how to take advantage of space-age travel, a good one, and periodic legislative updates. We had almost 11,700 attendees at 37 events year to date, with all of the members who are eligible becoming MOA members when they sign up for one of our webinars. I think we've talked in the past about these long-term challenges, and I mentioned them in the beginning, but I want you to know for your association, all 84 of our headquarters staff and our national board are focused on these, and we are making progress on each of these challenges, and we will continue to do so. In terms of financial stability, our most important challenge, I want to let you know that we earned an A+ on our 2024 financial audit rating. And I want to give special thanks to our CFO, Regina Chavez, and her team, who do an outstanding job making sure we take care of your dollars that you contribute, your dues, and all the other monies that we earn inside the association. They overcame an extremely difficult, challenging year to achieve that clean audit, but they've done a great job. I also want to throw out some thanks to Kathy Parton, Mark Stevenson, and their team. We won contract accessions from several of our affinity partners with USAA, with AMBA, you heard about with New York Life that have added additional revenues to our association, and thanks to that team for negotiating those and making sure we keep MOA's best interests at heart. We also want to say and appreciate the support of our portfolio managers at Goldman Sachs for our main MOA investment account and State Street Global Advisors for our scholarship fund, for all the work that they do to help manage our MOA investments. Thanks to the expertise and work of Admiral Fogel and our Finance Committee, our investment portfolio this last year has grown by over 10.5% year to date, and our State Street portfolio is up 11.8% to date. This really provides financial stability for us that supports executing our mission and making superb contributions to the entire uniformed service and veteran communities. I want to make a shout out and give a salute to some people. We do an annual recognition program for those members on our team who are demonstrated above and beyond. All of our members work really hard, all of our employees work really hard. The two individuals on the slide here were recognized as our team leader of the year, and that's Colonel retired Brian Anderson. And the other is our individual leader of the year, and that's our advocate in our healthcare portfolio, Karen Rudicelli. I think all of you probably know Brian and Karen. They've been longtime MOA members, but we're happy to highlight them and the great work they did as they were named as our team leader and individual leaders of the year last year. So in closing, I just want to say, just like what General Waldhauser said, the state of this association is strong. I hope you are proud. I hope we make you proud. I hope we make you feel valued for the dues that you provide to the association and the value that you get for it. We're really proud of the work we do. We think we can do even more. We're excited about for what we did at Total Force Plus just these last 2 days, and we see the great things ahead for MOA. So thank you for coming today, and I think we'll give it back to General Waldhauser and maybe turn it over to the rest of the association. Thanks.
All right. You know, I told BK, he has the slide clicker in his right hand, and he wanted to give me the slide clicker, and I said, no, I don't want that. I'm just trying to shake your hand. You know, trying to summarize a year's worth of MOAA in a few slides and a few pages is extremely difficult. And so I think there's three takeaways today that for those members who are here in attendance, I really think there's three takeaways, because you can almost be overwhelmed by all the things that BK had to say. But I think three takeaways are this. First of all, we are approaching our 100-year, our century mark at MOAA. And one of the things that as board members that we are trying to do during this period of time is to make sure that the organization is on a steady footing for the next 100 years. So there's a lot to that, from the fiscal aspect, from the financial aspect, and BK mentioned some of those today, and I want you to be assured that our target is not next week at the board level. Our target is the next 100 years, and that's the first item I think you should take away from this, that we're focused on that, we're laser-like focused on that in order to make sure this foundation continues to serve as it has. The second thing I would say as part of the takeaway from this last year is the relevancy of the programs to our membership. You know, there's many, many things that BK mentioned today that are available to all of those categories of service members and surviving spouses and those who work, for example, for NOAA or the health services. But everything that BK mentioned today and everything that the association does, it has to be relevant to the membership. So that's one of the basic questions that gets asked initially when you want to start a new program, when you want to put some money in one direction, is this relevancy and will it help the members? That's the second point today. And then the third point today, which should be, I think, very obvious to all of us after listening to BK go through all the things that have happened in the last year. There are numerous, and perhaps that's not even doing it justice, but there are numerous programs for everyone. I mean, think about this for a minute, from the signature items of the Scholarship Foundation and the Crisis Relief Fund to all of those programs that have to do with transitioning. There are just so many out there. It's hard to put them on one piece of paper. So we're trying to get set for the next 100 years. We're trying to maintain our relevancy so the membership continues to grow, and the numerous programs that are out there are really for everybody. And so why do I start with that? I start with that because you as members are in a unique position in really two important ways. And the first is that we always have a continuing challenge with building and maintaining awareness of our association. And for those of you who attended the Total Force Plus conference over the last 2 days or saw a little bit about it, I think one of the key takeaways from that event, among other things, is the brand of MOA will grow now. It's too early to tell what that will mean in terms of membership and philanthropy and the like, but the bottom line is we always need to make sure, and you as members need to help us with trying to make sure these cohorts that you deal with could be potential members. And it's kind of like preaching to the choir, because those of you who are, not because the chaplain is sitting here, but those of you who are here today for this meeting, I am most sure always champion the MOAA cause. But this is just a reminder to you to help us do that. This conference, as I indicated, is a big plus there. So if you can share the good work that BK talked about, if you can share some of the relevancy of those programs, that will help increase the membership, because that certainly is one of the challenges as we face the next 100 years. Our membership numbers don't need me to go into that this afternoon, but the membership numbers are a challenge. And as a consequence, we have to always continue to work hard at that, and I know that the staff does that. The second point I want to make is that BK mentioned a lot today, and April can certainly talk about this, is that our advocacy in the legislative area on the Hill at the national level is second to none. We at MOA have the ability, and I know I see a lot of familiar faces who participate in the advocacy in action in the spring, and of course it'll come around again here in April, and I see many familiar faces who have done that. But MOA is really the only organization that can do on Capitol Hill those type of activities. Now, I know in the states and the chapters, some of that gets done, and that's good, and it should be done. We continue to encourage that. But one of the things that BK has done over the last year, and I don't think he really highlighted enough, and he doesn't want to really, toot his own horn, so to speak, but the relationship that we have now, and April has been a big part of this, it's better than I've seen since I've been on the board. The trust with MOA, the fact that we continue to be one of the top advocacy VSO groups is evident all the time. We have a great relationship on the Hill, but like everything else, you have to work to keep at it. You have to work to ensure the trust that has been developed there is maintained. And so that's one of the things that I just wanted to underscore, and you can help us with that in your area, and you can help us with that as you come next spring, some of you to participate in advocacy and action, because that's where the legislation gets made, and some of these bills and NDAA language that BK mentioned that I know you are all well aware of, it happens right there. So I think now we're ready to open the floor to new business. So if you have anything that you'd like to bring to attention of the board, or any question you'd like to ask the team who is up here today, we'll be more than happy to take that on. I think that we're small enough in here that if you go ahead from your seat, don't even need to get up. If you have a question and kind of shout it out, I think we'll be just fine. I don't believe it's necessary to go to the microphone, or maybe we can take that around. Thanks very much to do that if you have. So I want to open it up to questions, and what I'd like to be able to do, somebody's always got to go first, and so somebody's got to go first. I'll just leave it there, and we'll see what happens. Any questions, please?
I'll just make one statement. I'm Kevin Doxey. I'm the president for Montgomery County chapter. Just one observation. This has been great. It really has. And as you said, we hit all those goals that we wanted to do. And I participate in a lot of meetings like this, NDIA, AUSA, and all those. And right now is where the work really begins. And in looking at that, and I saw the traffic coming through our booth that we had, as you said, and we had a handout that showed that we showed not only the work of each of the chapters, but how they link to the state of Maryland. And when I look across, and those were the questions we had, a lot of people were like, wow, we didn't realize this. We didn't realize what you do and how it plays out. So I would offer that those two sessions that you mentioned, in fact, one's coming up in November, that's really where the work's going to get done. We've done our part at the national level, you guys did, and now let's go down to the next level and down even more as we're doing this. So again, thank you. That's my observation, is the work just begun now. Thanks.
Thanks very much for those comments. BK or Jim, did you want to just add to that? Basically, the Total Force initiative is going to help moving forward, and maybe there's something you might want to add of what that may mean in the future.
Yeah, thanks, sir. I think, Kevin, thank you, and I think you have it exactly right. What we did here is build a lot of momentum. Now you got to keep it going and make the work. So translating that down to our chapters and councils, we, today at our board meeting, watched a video, a pretty, we think pretty cool video that we made as part of the Total Force Plus conference, that we had a marketing partner that did for us. We're going to get that out to everybody at the chapter and council level. We're going to be sending it out to all the people who didn't attend to show them what they missed. We're going to be sending it out to the sponsors that were here to thank them, but also make sure they get back next time. And for the other sponsors who didn't find a way here this time, exhibitors who didn't find a way here this time, to do that same thing. So as you said, it's time to build momentum, and we'll be doing that over the next couple weeks and months.
And I think I would just add, it's important as you go forward from the membership position, is that the niche that this conference filled is really all about the people. And this is a vision that BK had that came to fruition here over a 2-year period along with the staff. And so there has never been another conference like this one where it's people issues, and some of the tag phrases about people are, what the T-shirt?
We say people outrank everything.
People outrank everything. And I think that if you can kind of continue to advocate that, underscore that this is what we're all about, I think that's a message that we want to leverage as we move forward. And because there's such a wide group, it's just not the officers, it's the enlisted, surviving spouses, those who work in the National Health Service. As I said, there's a huge swath of people that this covers. So we're trying to leverage this from a strategic perspective. This conference, we want to do another one, as BK indicated, in February of 27 will be the next one. It'll be better, better, bigger, et cetera, but we're trying to take the lessons learned and point this down the road, because we think based on the immediate feedback from vendors and those who attended, this has filled a niche. And we want to make sure, even from a technology perspective, as an aside, I asked one of the individuals who was at a booth who had some kind of technology that he was here for, and I said, well, if you come back in a year from now, what will be different about your presentation, and why would you want to come back to talk about, would you talk about the same thing? And his answer was very interesting, and he said to me that from a technology perspective, a year from now, whatever he was marketing today will be bigger, or I should say smaller probably, smaller, more effective, and the technology will change. And so these individuals that were here, for the most part, for really the vast majority, were very, very positive and very, very receptive, because this Total Force Plus conference is unique, and it's really, hopefully, will fill a niche into the future. Do we have any other questions today?
Here comes trouble.
From Louisiana, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So Mike Dilda, I am the chapter president for the Arklatex chapter down in Louisiana. I also happen to be the council president for the state. Maybe not so much a question as a request, tied perhaps to a question. We've circled the issue for a few years now at the chapters and the council levels, and you mentioned that we weren't going to dig into details with membership numbers. We all know that's a challenge. At the chapter level, at the local organizational level, part of that challenge is access to our active duty partners. Some of that stems from good intentions and well-developed DOD level policy and service level policies from a very long time ago, a distant past, trying to prevent members from being taken advantage of by certain organizations and entities that sought to get access to our lowest grade military members. I posit to the board and the chair and the organization as a whole, perhaps we can work at that level, at the department level, the service level, to resurrect and look at that guidance from a fresh perspective and see if there's a way for qualified veterans organizations, DFW, DAV, American Legion, MOA, to be given different permissions to access our active duty military members on their post, on their station, on their base, if you will, so that they can better learn about our benefits, our organization. That doesn't have to be drastic, but I think it's been a long time since those have been looked at. At the chapter level, member level, and at the state level, what we find is a lot of our members who may be able to do that engagement are out of touch. They're older, they're more elderly, and confronting some of those guidelines and trying to figure out how to work around them, they don't have that access. If you don't have the fresh membership at the lower levels, you certainly don't have that active duty presence and access. So I think this could help us all. Like I said, more maybe of a recommendation, but it's also a question to how we're trying to meet that challenge, because I think we need a concerted effort organizationally to figure out how we're going to change our approach to this membership number issue. So
Mike,
thank you for your time,
yeah.
sir, and thank you all for your consideration. Outstanding event the last couple of days. We all got to attend. Really well done. I spent a lot of time moving around and talking to lots of participants, got to meet and network with a bunch of new folks. Really great effort. I absolutely encourage our board and organization to continue that effort moving forward. Fantastic.
Mike, thank you very much. Let me just see if, I'll just start down the line on that topic. I know, BK, you'd like to speak. I'll just start with Doug, and then we'll go right down the line if you have anything you wanted to add.
It's a great idea, and I'll look at it, pull up the regs. It's all based on statutes and Law and Privacy Act. We can look, I'm not hopeful, but it's worth looking at. It's a good idea. I'll look into it.
So Mike, here's the good news part. There's two parts to this, and I'm going to do one, but I'm going to let April go in. So this last year in the NDAA, that's hopefully going to get signed, there's a mandate for VSOs, registered VSOs. We happen to be one of those. You mentioned other ones, VFW, American Legion, DAV, PVA, that DOD has to involve them in the transition process. Now, I don't know if that means they're going to let us do membership pitches and those kind of things, but they want to make sure that transitioning service members, whatever rank they are when they're transitioning out, all ranks as they come through, have an opportunity to learn from and hear from all the resources that are out there. And one of the best ways that they can do that is to get engaged with the VSO organizations that are out there. So that's going to happen. That's, it's not maybe as far as what you outlined, but that's a good start in that process. I'll turn it over to April. The other thing I would say is just, I'm personally really happy for the state of Louisiana. You fired that fraud Brian Kelly as a football coach, and now I don't have to worry about that anymore, so thanks for doing that. And with that, I'll turn it over to April.
Our governor is well ahead of the issue.
Yes, but Brian was asking the board if his parachute, should he ever be relieved, be the same as the other Kelly.
I'll take it.
Two things. Just to go on that, there is a significant amount of interest at the Congress right now with regard to transition. In fact, there's a couple of members, staffs that have reached out to us that have asked us to participate in their efforts with transition. So I appreciate the input, and we'll make sure that we bring that up. But I see one of my teammates over there. Looks like she would like to add something. Renee, did you have something you wanted to add?
BK said
that a specific thing. Okay. Yeah, we spoke about it. There's a lot going on, so we'll make sure to bring that up when we get pulled into the conversation.
I think we tend to see a lot of variance in how JAG officers approach those restrictions at a base level. And it's probably just too diverse of an opinion.
If I may also, if you were at the senior enlisted panel, it was very clearly articulated by the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps that he is an advocate to have us come back on installation and to do something. So we do have people who are in very senior level positions that realize the value of having us as veterans to be integrated more with the soldiers. So there's that from Total Task Force Plus.
I'm going to put April on the spot here for a minute. We have a few more minutes here. I want to put April on the spot, and we're not going to, put you in a corner on this, but I think it would be interesting for those who are here today to talk about some of the issues that we're considering, that's all we're here today, considering to take on for AIA this spring. That might be of interest to them.
Thank you, sir. So we are approaching AIA this year as sort of a continuation of the 119th. For those of you who have been sort of following our legislative efforts, we started off the 119th with 5 priorities that align with our portfolios or the way in which we're organized. So they align with the populations in which we serve, the currently serving population, the veterans and retiree population, the families and survivors. And then, of course, we have such a significant effort or attention with our health care. So we have both the DoD healthcare or TRICARE and our VA healthcare. So within those populations, we have a priority that goes with each of those. We started off the 119th with a priority for each, and we are going to start the 119th with 3 of the 5. We're going to hold the course on 3 of those. So I will start with the 3 that we're going to maintain. The first one is for caregivers on the VA side of the house. Renee is here, and she can give you a little bit more specifics, but just to let you know that it is to support the caregivers who take care of our veterans every day. And it's to take care of caregivers who may be re-entering the workplace, trying to get re-education, or potentially to help take care of them as they get ready to retire. There's some different programs that are going to take care of those caregivers. There's been a lot of support for that bill, but as we've continued through this year, there has been a bit of a pivot from the veterans committees to a different bill. We want to stay in alignment with the VA committees, and so we are sort of pivoting with them while we still maintain our focus, but they've kind of, there's been a little resistance to cooperate. I know that surprises some of you right now in the veterans committees. So we're holding the line, and we will continue that in the 119th, so caregivers will continue to be our focus for the VA healthcare side of the house. On the DoD healthcare or the TRICARE side, we have really focused on a digital reporting tool that allows our families and our service members to identify challenges or barriers to access to healthcare. And the reason why we think that is so important is because we want to make sure that we have tangible, very clear data where we can start to show where we are having challenges with access to healthcare. In order for us to really get after those challenges to direct care, we need to be able to point to clear and reportable data and not just emotion. A lot of people talk about healthcare challenges, but we want to be able to point to this reporting tool that has data where we can point across the entire direct care system and show where things are going well, where things are having a problem, and use that data when we go and start looking at a bigger challenge. And so that digital reporting tool has actually gained a sponsor this year, and so we're going to continue to go after that in the second session of the 119th Congress. Probably we will go after that as a standalone bill and hope that that gets pulled into the NDAA in the second session. We'll see how that works, Karen, right? Okay, and then on for the third priority that we're going to continue in the 119th, that is going to be it's the Work Opportunity Tax Credit for our military spouses, and that's the Military Hiring Act, for Military Spouse Hiring Act. We have significant support for that for our military spouses, and it is a tax credit for hiring a military spouse. There is a lot of bipartisan support for this. We've had a bill on both the House and the Senate sides. The problem is there is, it comes at a cost, but the cost is only there if, in fact, the spouse gets hired. So we've had great support for this on both the Senate and the House side for the last 3 years. We've just not been able to get it across the line. The good news is the Work Opportunity Tax Credit does come up for renewal this year. So we are hoping that all they will do is just write in the military spouse to that tax credit when it gets renewed at the end of the year. However, again, there has been some challenges with getting things moving, and so we don't know if they're going to, in fact, be able to get the tax credit renewed. Just because it doesn't get renewed at the end of the year doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It has happened in the past where this has been delayed. It just retroactively gets renewed. So we may see it in February or March, and so we won't give up hope if we don't see it in December. But there is a chance, and there is some conversations with some of the offices that they could potentially just pull the Military Spouse Hiring Act out and give it its own bill. So we're working that from several different angles. We continue to have hope. We'll see what happens. It's not the best strategy, but it's the one we continue to move forward with. And the other two portfolios that we're working, One of them is our currently serving population. We started the year focusing on the unaccompanied housing improvements. The good news about the unaccompanied housing improvements is that there is significant support from the Congress on improving our unaccompanied housing. So as we started this year, we saw lots of movement in previous NDAAs that were gaining traction. And in the reconciliation bill, there is significant money in there as well as oversight directives that gave us great confidence that we were going to see improvements to military housing for our unaccompanied members. We decided that rather than continuing to ask for improvements for things that we saw legislation and funding for, that we were going to hold the stick on that and start watching to see if some of those things were going to take an effect. So we are not going to continue to push for funding or some of the reports that we were hoping to get our hands on. We were going to watch to see some of those take effect and pivot a little bit for our currently serving population. We'll start the 119th with some new priorities that we will brief after January because we're still developing those a little bit, and continue to watch and provide some oversight for what we hope to see will start to take effect maybe in the January or February timeframe, depending on what happens with the lay-in of the reconciliation funding. But the good news is I do think we're going to start seeing some improvements to military housing on both funding and oversight. And then with our veterans and retirees, we started the 119th with hopes that we were going to see what we call End the Wait or PACT Act 2. There were some things that the PACT Act did not completely address, and it has to do with presumptives or, put in more layman's terms, is identifying things that were considered toxic exposures earlier in the process so that folks who did get that toxic exposure would get an opportunity to get treatment sooner than we have traditionally. In some cases, it was taking up to 31 years for folks to have been exposed to some sort of toxic, some had some sort of toxic exposure before they could actually be identified as an exposure and then get the care that they deserved. We were hoping to get that done through a partnership with DAV. We worked to get a champion. The truth of the matter is that there was a lot of victories gained by the PACT Act and maybe not a ton of appetite right now for reintroducing another bill that is dealing with toxic exposure. I don't think that we are going to stop working on this desire, the End the Wait report, or some of the things that we are hoping to achieve through it, but we are going to make that more of a tier 2 priority, that we continue to work with our community, because it's going to take some time to educate the Congress on what all this means, and that it really isn't a huge bill or more, it's not really going to take a lot of money. It's going to require some establishment of some oversight through the VA and some work with the DOD to take ownership of those exposures. So I think what we'll do is push that to a tier 2 and continue to work it and identify another tier 1 or a more prevalent priority for us in the veterans and retiree portfolio. Again, we'll be introducing that in January and briefing that as we start the 119th second session. So I've been talking a lot for a while. Let me pause and see if anybody has any questions on those.
April, thank you very much for that rundown. That's very, very helpful. I'm going to take just two more questions before we ask for a final question from the audience, both with Regina and Jim, who are up here. You know, Regina, I think it's in March timeframe, every year in the MOA magazine, lays out in word form, in text form, the status of our budget and kind of the financial picture. And first of all, I want to encourage you to read that, because it's a very, very easy to understand synopsis of where we are financially as an institution. So, Regina, my question to you would be is perhaps you can spend a minute or two just to talk to the membership about the financial status, and maybe just kind of take your article that you always do and give a quick rundown of key points.
So MOA is now, is currently in a strong, solid financial position. I just reported on our 2024 financials. We ended in a positive position. Our legislative portion of our expenses has increased. When I came here, we were at about 2%, and now we're at about 16% of our expenses are covering all of our legislative acts. MOA is continuing to grow its portfolio so that we can continue financing all the activities that we want to do, as well as supporting our other two entities, which is the Scholarship Fund and the Foundation. And as you know, the Scholarship Fund is funding student scholarships as well as grants, as well as the interest-free loans. This year, we ended up giving $18 million out to students, to over about 1,800 students. And then the foundation, of course, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about our Crisis Relief Fund, which we were happy to be able to support veterans and currently serving individuals throughout the country when they were in these crisis situations from hurricanes as well as fires. And I believe there was an incident in North Dakota where there was snow issues. So again, we have a strong portfolio. We're continuing to strive in the right direction. One exciting effect is us just finishing the Total Force, which is another opportunity for us to help all of our military individuals, families, and children. Are there any questions for me, by any chance? But no, we're still going strong, and we're very happy to be going in the right direction.
Thank you very much, Regina. We are very, very pleased and happy and really thankful to have Regina on the team, because keeping the books in this financial time frame and trying to project out to the future takes a Herculean effort, and Regina always has those numbers and has been a very, very strong part of the organization. Finally, Jim O'Brien is here. Thank you very much, Regina. Jim O'Brien is here. He's been the Chief Operating Officer now for a while at MOA. And Jim, I'll just kind of leave it to you. I'm sure you have a few observations that you wouldn't mind sharing with the audience this afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
I can be more specific if you want, but I'm kind of giving you a softball.
Okay, well, yeah, I was just thankful on being asked to give a prayer. The chaplain is here. That's a little inside joke for the board. What I will say is that what this week has demonstrated, and what I've seen in my time at MOA, is that we have to continually reinvent ourselves as an association. We have a strong legacy organization, and we do so many, many wonderful things. But those things aren't always going to sustain us in the future. We have to change, and we've talked about many of those things today. And it's very rewarding as a MOA member, as someone on the MOA staff, as someone that's a donor to our charities, to see all of the good work that we're doing under General Kelly's leadership, under the chairman's leadership, under the board's leadership, and with a fantastic staff, this team of people that is so dedicated to this mission. It's really, really inspiring of what we're going to do. And the challenges are real, and we've talked about a lot of them today. The membership challenges, every day we wake up, our team is trying to figure out how do we get more members in the door. The revenue challenges. You know, in the association, we're all kind of struggling with the same thing. I say that non-dues revenue is the holy grail, getting that other revenue to your association. And General Kelly's done a great job. The marketing team's done a great job with trying to bring in more and more partners. But we're not just about partners. They've got to be the right partners. And, you know, I've been very, very impressed with how we've led the Total Force Plus effort. Very encouraged by the new people that we've come in contact with, the new sponsors that we have, the new relationships that we have. Because at the end of the day, our success is going to come down to one thing, and that's relationships. It's on advocacy relationships. It's on relationship with corporate America, relationship with our members, our chapters. And I feel really strong that we're going in the right direction in our association.
Thank you, Jim. You know, it brings up the point that we talk about a lot, and that is, you know, we have a cradle-to-grave responsibility here from the moment you walk into the service or wherever you may start till all you transition, and it take you all the way to the end of your lifetime. That's a pretty wide berth. But the bottom line is for membership, it requires really some innovative thinking, as Jim alluded to. We have, as no surprise to you, our membership is, age-wise, average is 72. In the early 70s. But at the same time, we're trying to attract members who are on active duty today. And so how do you show relevancy to those who are 72 and those who are 21? And that continues to be the challenge. And all I can say is there's no right or wrong answer, but we're well aware of that. And everything that we do tries to get at that real dichotomy, 72 and 21. The needs, the desires, the benefits, the relevancy, you know the difference there. So that's the challenge that we have, and that's what we have to continue to work with and chip away at every day as we get to the next 100 years. BK, I want to give you an opportunity before we wrap this up to see if there's any final comments. Perhaps you'd like to make some final remarks.
Yeah, thanks, sir. I said it as I started to give the annual report there. My hope every day when I get up and come to work is that our members, all of you, see the value of the association and are proud of the work we do. We're striving hard to make sure that we provide value for everybody, and also, as General Walthauser just said, that we look at that whole ecosystem from the time somebody raises their hand through their whole service, their transition, until the time they make a final transition. And one of the goals there for us is that we want to make sure that system is so strong in that everybody who is asked, would you serve again, they will recommend to somebody else to serve just like we served. And so our goal at MOA is to make you proud of what we're doing there, and I hope we're doing that. So thanks for being here today.
Okay, are there any final comments from any of the board members or any staff? Anybody? One last chance here. Please, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. I guess for the 2027 Total Force event, one of the things to look at, you talked about participation by councils and chapters. And let's talk financial, because this is not the cheapest place in the world to come to. And there's got to be a way of encouraging at least the council level to be able to come and observe it. I mean, I'm glad that I came and observed as the Missouri Council president. But I think the rest of them need to see this and come away and be a way to share it back with their chapters. So we need to look at some way of offset, if you will, because it cost me over $1,500 to come for the 3 days. So I ask that to be considered.
So thanks very much for that. And BK, I'll give it to you in just a second. There's two things that come to mind on that comment. The first one is, I think in the spring at the advocacy and action, when we have the councils and chapters, we got to make sure we devote a period of time that includes a video, a little bit of education about what went on here. So that's a way to leverage and explore what went on. So I think we'll kind of get to that piece as well. But I will just tell you, generically speaking, the fiscal side of this, the funding for this is a huge, huge challenge. And we've taken a really hard look at it. And BK and his team, we had some statistics today, which I won't go into, which talk about, what it costs to put it on here, what the donations and sponsorships are. And quite frankly, and I know this is not getting exactly to your question about, how much it costs to come, but I'm talking from the standpoint of what it costs to put this thing on. And we have to find a sustainable way ahead to continue to do this on a somewhat annual basis if we want to do so. And the two key areas for revenue generation to make this work are the sponsorships. Those, for example, we had two platinum members, USAA and AMBA, who gave what we consider to be a platinum donation. And then we didn't quite get our goal there. And then the other side of this is the booths and those who are presenters on the floor, the cost for that. Those are the two main areas that generate the revenue to be able to put this on. And so this was the first one, obviously. There were challenges with the government closure and conditions that who could come. And as BK will tell you, we didn't know who was going to be on the senior enlisted panel until the morning of that panel. Because when the lawyers get involved, some had different opinions on who could or who cannot come. So we got to kind of work our way through that fog of war as a result of this first conference. But we've got to get to a place where we have a sustainable program to keep this going. And your point about if you want council and chapters and whether there would be funding from MOA National, that's a great question and a great point. But right now, I would just say that, and BK can chime in here when I'm done, but right now, what our focus is trying to get on a solid financial footing to be able to do this again and again and again. BK?
So you got it right.
Does that help at all on your?
Well, I hear you. I understand
Yeah.
the cost of
Sure.
putting on this. I'm very familiar. Been a member of AUSA, and I know
Yeah.
what they go through there at the convention center in Washington, which is significantly bigger program.
Sure.
But we've also got a body of contractors that underwrite that operation, and the same for the other service associations,
Yeah.
if you will. So this isn't easy, I understand.
Yeah.
But I think if we want to get the councils involved so they get an idea, then there's got to be a way of bringing them. And the same thing goes for training. Right now, we pay for one night in the room, and depending on where you are, if you're physically close to where the training center is, there's cost in getting there, and
Sure.
it's just not a one-night trip for most of us.
Yeah.
So we're asking people in the councils and chapters to come to training, and they're bearing a pretty good
Yeah.
financial cost on their own to do that.
Well, thank you for that. It's a great point to look at, and we'll take a look at this as we move forward. No promises, no easy answers, but understand the issue. Yeah. Okay, is there anything else? Any other questions, final comments for anybody there today? If not, I am prepared to call the annual meeting of the members to a close. Do I need a second to do that, or are we good? We're good. Thank you all very much for coming. I appreciate it.